Hello YouTube, this is Carlos the Rook coming to you with Game 6 in World Open 2025 from Philadelphia. And in this game I was playing black, so let me switch the board around. Alright, there we go. I'm playing Kai Zhu Lan, who's 1881, and I'm 1810 at the time. Kai started off with e4, so I respond with my Sicilian. He goes knight f3, d6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight f6, hitting the pawn on e4. Now he has to protect that pawn. Knight c3, this is a natural move. And at this point I have to decide which system I'm going to go into. So I chose a6, choosing the knight off, which is very sharp and is a fighting Sicilian. He responds bishop e3, setting up the English attack. I go e5, knight goes to b3, bishop e6, preventing bishop c4 ideas. He goes f3, bishop e7, queen d2. Now I castle and he castles. Now this is all prep in the standard book lines. I think I have like somewhere between 30 to 40 moves of preparation memorized in this line. So knight on b to d7. It's a waiting move to see what white does. And the knight can go either to b6 after a b5 or to c5. It just depends. But normally it's b6 and then c4 with the idea of hitting the queen and the bishop. So it would be something like, let's see, here to here, with the idea of forking the queen and bishop, and then with the rook would be on c8, and white would have to give up the bishop pair in order to retain his dark square bishop. In this opening, white has to keep the dark square bishop. So he goes g4, which is standard in the English attack, starting the king side attack. I respond b5, pressuring on the queen side. g5 is the move. I go b4. Now, he can't take my knight here, because if he captures the knight, I capture his knight. If he captures again, I capture his queen with check. And then I take the pawn. So that's why he can't do that. So the move is knight e2, moving the knight out of danger. And my move is knight e8. Now, before I knew this move, knight e8, I actually used to go knight h5, but I used to get in trouble there. And the response there is knight g3, busting open the king side. So I know better now. So I go knight e8. He goes f4. a5 is the move. He goes f5. And I go a4, hitting the knight. So he takes the bishop, I takes the knight. And he goes c capture b3. Now a lot of people might wonder why he didn't do not e captures d7, because b captures a2 and you queen. So that's one thing. Another thing is, now let me back up. a5, f5, b5, take. If he captures here, then it's a draw. The rook captures. He captures that. No, it's not this. It's this rook. He captures back. Then it's this rook. Knight to g3. It's going to be check. No. Hold on. Back up. It's going to be check. He steps up. Then it's a perpetual check. He goes there. Check. He goes there. Check. He goes there. Check. and white can't stop the checks. That's a perpetual. So that's why F captures E6, bishop to H3 hitting the pawn, rook captures A2. I had to learn the hard way not to deviate from what the best line is. I had a game I played against a Canada master where I didn't do rook A2. I tried to do something different than theory, even though I knew what theory was, and I lost a complicated endgame. So now I'm following my opening prep and sticking with theory. So he responds, bishop captures E6 check. The king moves over to H8, getting out of the way of the check. Knight to G3 is the move. Knight C7 hitting the bishop. The bishop falls back and blocks the C file. Queen goes to A8, setting up a ram with the rook. The white rook comes over to F1, offering a trade. We take the trade. Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Drop down and check. King steps up. Rook takes rook. Bishop takes rook. And E to D5 is the next move. So all this is opening prep for me. 25 moves of prep. And these are all the best moves recommended by Stockfish 17.1. Now here, he played a move that deviated from my opening prep. And it took me out of book. So from here on, I was on my own. And what Kai played was E captures D5. Now, I sat and thought for about 20 minutes here. Because I was like, do I capture back with the queen or the knight? I wasn't sure. Like, if I capture back with the queen, he takes the queen, my knight takes. Then his knight can get active, and he got two bishops. The bishop pair on an open board. I felt like that was really dangerous. So I captured with the knight. And I was setting up a little trick that I was hoping he'd fall for. So knight captures D5. And I'm like, if he thinks he can pin me with bishop to G2, then my idea was knight captures bishop check. And if the queen captures, I capture that back with a check. And then I go up a piece. But Kai, he didn't fall for this. He went H4 instead. So I take the bishop, because I don't want him to have the bishop pair. He takes back with his queen. And I go queen C6, checking. I wasn't really sure what to do here. I wasn't sure what my idea should be. I know I don't like my king all the way in the corner on the back row. And I can get back rank mated. And I felt like his king was exposed. So I need to give my pieces to active squares. I got a pass pawn on E5. He got double up pawns on the B file. So I need to protect my B pawn, find some way to get my E pawn going, bring my king towards the center, but at the same time I gotta watch out for his queen, so it might be a good idea to exchange queens so I don't get mated or any back rank ideas. I know I don't want his knight coming into F5, so I'm thinking G6 is an idea. So he brings his bishop over, taking the diagonal from G8 to C4. He blocks the check. And I play G6 here. The engine gives me a question mark because it doesn't want G6, it wants H6. And I'm like, H6, that seems very counterintuitive. Like, why would I open up my king even further and have an exposed king and a queen and minor piece endgame? That just didn't make sense to me, but that's what the engine wants. So G6, and the reason why the engine didn't like G6 was Queen F2, with the idea of Queen F7 with Queen G8 mate. So I go Knight B6, threatening the bishop. Like, I'm not going to allow you to set up that ram. He goes Queen E2 to protect the bishop. So I move my queen up. I don't want to take it right away. I don't want to take it if I don't have to. I don't want to undouble his pawns. That was my idea here. He comes back Knight E4 hitting the queen. And now his knight becomes more active. It's eyeballing the f6 square. So I move my queen in a little closer with queen d4. He falls back with knight d2 to protect the bishop. And here, once again, I was unsure of what to do. I got a free pawn on h4, but that pawn is poisoned. There's no way I'm taking that pawn and getting my queen off sides. So I was thinking bishop c5 with queen f2, exchanging queens was an idea, and then bringing my king to the center and somehow finding a way to start pushing my e-pawn. That's the plan I formulated. So I went bishop c5. He went queen f3. Now he's threatening to drop down again to f7. I go queen f2. So now queen f7 is no longer a threat. He goes queen c6, threatening to drop down a different way. I capture the bishop. He captures back with his pawn. Now he's undoubled his pawn. And here I've moved queen d4. I felt like this move protected everything. Stockfish wants queen e3 here instead. But I felt like this move protected all my pieces. And if he wants to do a perpetual check, at this point I felt like I had no choice but to give up a draw if that's what Kai wanted to play for. But if he wanted to play for more, I felt like I was secure, and then I still got the option to start pushing the e-pawn if the queens get exchanged. He went queen e4. He wants to exchange the queens. I start moving my king up closer to the action. He captures on d4. I capture back with the bishop. And Stockfish gives a negative 4.43 here, which means I'm winning. Knight f3, hitting the bishop and the pawn. I go bishop f2, eyeballing the pawn on h4, and with the idea of moving my e-pawn up. I'm not worried about the c-pawn because my king can get to there in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll catch it. So he goes king d3 to stop my pawn from advancing. Because my idea was e4, e3, and putting massive pressure. And here I go bishop g3. So I figure he's going to go e4 and set up a blockade with his king. And I protect my pawn and at the same time still putting pressure on his pawn on the h-file. He go king e4. I go king f8, getting closer to the c-pawn. And here he goes, knight captures e5. The computer gives a question mark. It wanted b3 for him to push his pawn. And here now he has the advantage because I made a few inaccuracies. So I capture on h4. The king moves over. I go bishop e1. He go b3. Now you got a connected pass pawn. I go bishop d2 checking. Now it's back equal. Stockfish is giving 0.05 for white. Now it's dropping to 0.03. Just fluctuating somewhere around there. So his king moves over to g4. I go king e7. He drops back knight f3, hitting my bishop. So I move the bishop to c3, getting out the way, and just controlling the dark squares. He go king f4, moving his king closer to the center. I go king d6. Now the c-pawn is no longer a threat. My king is centralized. He go king e4, coming even farther to the center. And here I drop bishop b2. I felt like I needed a waiting move. So I just drop back and I'm just controlling this diagonal to limit the scope of his knight. He moved king d3, coming even closer. I think he's going after my bishop. So I moved the bishop all the way to g7. So it's no longer able to be threatened. He go knight d2. And here I make a break for h6. My big idea here was to create a passed pawn. So I lost my other passed pawn. So I wanted to exchange over here and create a passed pawn so I could put some pressure on him. And that way I could tie the knight down. And that way the idea was to find a way to circle around the king. If I could draw his knight and his pawn over to the king side, then I could circle around behind him and take his pawns with my king. So you go knight e4 check, king e5, pawn captures, bishop captures back, knight f2, and bishop f8, putting protection on my pawn and redirecting the bishop, thinking bishop c5 maybe, and control that diagonal now. And then also be eyeing the promotion square. He brings knight to h3. Now the knight is stopping my pawn from advancing. So I bring bishop e7 so the pawn can advance. He go king e3, bringing his king back to this side, just what I wanted, a deflection. g5. And here he goes knight f2. So now my pawn cannot go to g4. So I go bishop c5 check, forcing him to move the king. He go king f3, and now I make my dash, going for the b3 pawn. He forks my bishop and pawn, forcing me to protect it with bishop e7. So I go bishop e7. Now he goes c5, pushing his pawn. Now that I'm thinking about it, c5. So here I go g4 check, threatening the king. The king can't capture because then you lose the knight. His king steps up, f4. Stockfish gives him an exclamation. And here I take bishop capture c5. Since I'm going to lose my pawn and can't be protected anymore. And he makes the move knight g5, which was a losing move. And I missed it, but the winning move here, the winning idea is bishop e7. And the idea is you're taking away squares from the knight. The knight has no good way to redirect after the king goes c3 and takes the pawn on b3. Then you just walk the b pawn in, because the bishop and the king together will stop the knight from coming back to the queen side. But I missed that. I went king d3. King captures g4, king c2, knight e6 hitting the bishop. And here I thought for a while, if I fade the bishop back to either d6 or b5 or even something like e3, then he has knight f4 followed by knight d5. And let me show that. Knight f4 followed by knight d5, and the pawn, he could give up the pawn, the knight for the pawn, and I'll never promote. So with that in mind, I just went for a Hail Mary. I gave up my bishop and captured the pawn with the idea of trying to using the king to shoulder the knight out and promote the pawn. He captures. I attack the knight. He moved to e4. I go to d4. You bring king to f3. I bring the pawn up. The knight goes to d2. I go to b2. King goes in to E2. I go king C3. And he goes king D1. Cut my king off. So now I gotta go king D3. And he moved knight to B1. And here the knight is just gonna make a merry-go-round. It just stay here to here to here. And wherever my king goes, the knight just makes the merry-go-round. There's no way I can never get in. And here we agreed to a draw. So I got a draw on the sixth game with Kai Luzerne, who was rated 1881. So I felt like it was still good. He was almost 70 points higher than me, and I was able to draw him. All right, thank you, YouTube. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, Carlos the Rook, and I'll bring you more action from the World Open 2025. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.